Right, we're going to have a go at editing this image. It's in Lightroom. I've brought up the entire exposure for 0.4. I want to push this histogram right up to the, very close to the right hand edge without actually blowing it out. So the highlight and shadow warnings are on, and there's no issue certainly with obviously the blacks, but I've pushed the highlights and the exposure right up to the right hand edge. I've brought highlights down -20 and shadows up 30, whites down -5. I don't worry that this part of the chest is too bright. I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to deal with that. So I will just now send that in to Adobe Photoshop 2021. So here we are. I want to change the image crop. I want to add a little more space above. So I'm ticking content aware and clicking OK. And this area at the top will be filled in hopefully with this same grey. So there we are, we've extended the top of the frame using content aware crop. Now I want to darken this blue material. Now one easy way to do that, I'll just go Command J for a duplicate layer, and I'll go into the quick selection, object selection tool, and I'll just draw out like that, and it should sense what I'm trying to select. So it just needs slightly improved. So I'm now going to change to the quick selection tool, and I'm just going to push that edge, and it does a pretty good job of finding the you really do want to be zoomed in for this. You want to make as the best selection that you possibly can. I mean, it has done a fairly remarkable selection, I have to say, almost straight off the bat, but it does need just refined slightly. I'll not worry about this bit here that is very, very bright. So I'm now going to put the blend mode of this layer into multiply, and having made that selection, I'm now going to hit the mask. Oh, I need to invert the mask. Right. So there is the effect of that duplicate layer in multiply blend mode with just the blue material selected. That's at 100%. It's a bit much. I may go V6 for 60%, maybe 7 for 70%. Yeah, I'll go with 70%. And while I have that scarf or material selected, I'm just going to command click on it and go to save selection and simply call it blue material. And that will now be saved as a selection down here in the channels. And I'm now going to flatten the image. Command D to deselect. Now we're going to try and select Ayla, so Command J again for another duplicate layer, and we go to the object selection tool, and I will just draw it out, and Command 1 to go in on 100%. So hasn't done a very good job on the hand here, so I'm going to switch over to the quick selection tool. I have it set to take away from the selection, so there's a minus sign in the middle, but if I hold the shift key there's a plus, so I can very quickly change. So I'm going to hold the shift key to make it a plus to add to the selection, and actually I'm going to zoom in even tighter here. you get better results by making the little brush smaller as you push these edges. So I'm now letting it do minus selection to take away from the selection, to take this blue out. Looks pretty okay. Right, we've lost a bit of the arm here, so hold the shift key to get back to the add to the selection. Oops, we lost a bit of forearm as well. We need to take away this little triangle under the arm. It's a better selection. We've lost a tiny bit of neck. Bit of chin missing. So it is worth your while fixing this selection to be as good as you can make it. Otherwise, certainly for print, you would have some issues that would definitely need dealt with. Using the minus in here. Down the arm looks okay, a wee bit there. There's good contrast there. You often wonder why it doesn't pick it up. So we've lost little bits of the blue tutu. But it's very good with just a little nudge to fix its own edges. And do be prepared to spend 15-20 minutes, however long it takes to get this right, because if you're trying to do well in competition, you can't just barge ahead saying, "Oh, that will do." You know, do it right or don't do it at all. Oh, we've got a gap in there. Surprised it's not just doing all this in one. There we go. With a bigger brush, it does a better job. Just lost a little bit of the shoe. Lost a bit there. And we'll just push that back. So for what I'm going to do, I think that selection is probably, we're going to get away with this. Let's just give it another check. Oh yes, we've still some more skirt to fix. Oops, I need to hold the shift key to add and let it go to take away. So if I'm happy with this selection, I will now just go to select, save selection, and we'll call this Ayla, the name of the model. And I now go Command D to deselect. And this duplicate layer, I am going to put a levels adjustment on it. Levels, create a clipping mask, and we're going to just bring the greys down. This is just to show me where I need to dodge. And I click on this duplicate layer and I go to the dodge tool, set to work on highlights at about 20%. And I'm dodging everything here, so anything that it sees as a highlight is going to dodge, so her skin, her legs, etc. But it's the floor really that I'm concerned about here. So what I'm basically doing is dodging the highlights in the floor, etc. to pure white. Now this levels adjustment was just an aid, so I can delete that aid. And there's that dodged layer. So if I now click on the command click on the blue material selection and shift command click on the ALA selection, and now hold the option or alt key and click on the mask. Now that is at 100%. It's far too much. This white background, if I go to information, where is information? Info. This background is reading 255, so I've bleached it out to 255 pure white, but that is when the opacity of that layer is at 100%. Typically, if you go V8, so you're taking off 20%, you'll only come down to about 224 or 2, well, in fact, it's brought it down to 240. So a 20% reduction only brings you down to 242. So that means you can actually go, say, V5, bring it down 50% opacity, and now the information is reading 223. You can see it here, 223 in the whites. I think around a wee bit less than that is enough. So if I go V4, 40%, I'm reading 220, which is really what I want in the background to read. So we've gone from that to that. And whenever we went to decent lengths with our selection, there's no real issues there. I think you'll get away with the edges there. I don't think there's any cause for concern. Maybe a wee bit here. If I turn that off and on. And of course, you don't have to go as bright as that if you don't want to. That's 40%. If you go V24, you're getting 24%. That may be enough for people. I'll just go with that for the sake of argument. In fact, just where the floor is there, I might just dodge that a little more. Where are we? Dodge tool. Oops. Maybe if I set it to midtones. %, so just 18% is possibly enough. Flatten image. Now a little technique here. Command J for duplicate layer. I'm going to go filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Maybe this is quite a big file, 20 pixels. Image adjustments, hue saturation. I'm going to add about +20 to the saturation. I'm going to bring the lightness up +30, and I'm going to change the blend mode of that to soft light. Now that is also brightening the background and the model, but that's at 100%. Typically you only need 20 to 30%, so V25 gives me 25%. It's just adding a little bit more contrast. I'm happy with that. I'm going to flatten image. Now I need to deal with the brightness of this part of her chest and maybe part of her arm. So Command J, I'm going to do that with a blending mode. Multiply blend mode. I'm going to black that out. I'm going to use a luminosity mask to target the color and brightness of that part of the chest. Look how good a selection has been made, plus that part of the arm. So I turn that into a selection. Click on the mask. B2, just to paint this in at 20% with a soft edged brush. So I'm painting in a duplicate layer that is in blend mode multiply, and there is the effect of it. Happy with it. Latin image. We have a few problem things to deal with. We have marks on the floor. There's a mark there, so I'll just get the spot healing brush tool. Now, why is that giving me an odd shape? Select, there we go. So anywhere I see problem areas. Now, if you see a straight line like that, you can click there, move the mouse along, hold the shift key and click again. That will connect your last click. So I think that's pretty reasonable. Let's just see, Command J again. We'll go into Nik Software just to see if we can find anything that will improve this. Tonal contrast, possibly. Yeah, I'll just go with the default settings on tonal contrast. And then on the basis that less is more, I'll just go V67 and take 33% off. And I quite like that, I have to say, so I will just flatten image. Even though I've already done it, I still think that this area here could be darkened down a little, so I'm going to do it with curves. Command J, image adjustment curves. I'm going to click on the little hand tool, click on there to see where that is, and just drag down. That's darkening everything, of course, and then we black it all out. We use a luminosity mask to target that color and brightness of the skin. We turn that into a selection. We then click on the mask. We go B2 to paint it in very subtly at 20% with a soft edged brush. You can hopefully see how subtle that is. Go 3 for 30% and keep painting. And we've darkened it, flatten image. And I think the last thing I would do is just simply sharpen this image. So Command J, oops, I need to remove the selection. Command J, filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. Command 1, nicely sharp. Flatten image. Command 0 to make it fit the screen. And I think I'd be happy enough. Let's just see what the background is reading at. So it's reading at 212, around 210, 212. So I'd be fairly happy with that, I have to say. I think I would probably print it at that brightness value. You don't want to go too bright on the whites. Nice textured fine art paper would make that background look pretty good. It's the sort of image that would probably do better as a PDI than as a print, but I will print it just to see how we get on. If you felt that the legs could be brightened, I could just go Command J, put the blend mode into screen, and I'm just looking at the legs now. We will black that out. We can then select our ELA image, or channel rather, so just Command click on that and go B3 for 30% with a soft edge brush and just paint it in over the legs. So in the same way that I used a multiply layer to darken, I'm now using a screen layer to brighten the legs. Command D to deselect, and we can see the before and after. Flatten image, I shall just drag those selections, or channels rather, to the bin, and we're good to go. So File, Save, and it becomes a edit TIFF file in Lightroom. As my hard drive is whirring here, it's a big file, this one, 50 million plus pixels. So there it is, edit TIFF. I can go into the history section and take a snapshot of where we are. So we've gone from that to that.